The showroom's polished marble floors gleamed under the Los Angeles sun. But for Marcus and Malik Jackson, the light felt cold, exposing every flaw in their moment of vulnerability. They stood side by side, identical twins with deep brown skin, sharp jawlines, and eyes that held dreams too big for this moment. Today, those dreams were crumbling under the weight of a salesman's sneer. "Excuse me, gentlemen," the salesman, a wiry man named Greg with a practiced smile, said, his tone dripping with condescension. "These cars are for serious buyers. Maybe you'd be more comfortable at a used lot down the street." His words landed like a slap, and the handful of customers milling about the dealership turned to stare. Marcus felt his fists clench, his heart pounding with a mix of rage and shame. Malik, always the calmer twin, placed a steadying hand on his brother's arm, but his own eyes burned with quiet fury. They had come to Elite Motors, the most prestigious car dealership in Beverly Hills, to celebrate. At 25, the twins had just launched their first tech startup, a bold app connecting queer youth with mental health resources. It was a passion project born from their own struggles growing up Black and gay in a world that often rejected them. The app had gone viral, and with their first major payout, they decided to splurge on matching Porsche 911 sleek, fire-red symbols of their triumph. But now, standing in this sterile showroom, they were reduced to stereotypes, their success invisible to a man who saw only their youth, their blackness, and the way they held hands as they walked in. Marcus took a step forward, his voice low but sharp. "We're here to buy, not to be judged. Show us the cars." His defiance drew a flicker of unease across Greg's face, but the salesman doubled down, crossing his arms. "I'm just saying, these models start at $200. 000. Cash. Let's not waste each other's time." The implication hung heavy. "You don't belong here." Malik squeezed Marcus's hand, a silent reminder to stay composed. "We'll take two," Malik said evenly, pulling out his phone to show their bank confirmation. "Cash, like you said." The room fell silent, the other customers now openly watching. Greg's smirk faltered, but he didn't budge. "I'll need to speak with my manager," he muttered, turning away as if dismissing them entirely. As they waited, Marcus's mind raced back to their childhood in Atlanta, where they'd faced whispers and worse for being themselves. Their mother, a single parent and nurse, had taught them to hold their heads high, but she'd passed away 2 years ago, leaving them to navigate the world alone. Or so they thought until their father, a man they'd only recently reconnected with, stepped into their lives. William Jackson, a billionaire tech mogul, had been absent for most of their childhood, a regret he was now trying to mend. The twins hadn't fully trusted him yet, but his support had given them the courage to chase their dreams. And now, this humiliation felt like a betrayal of that progress. The manager, a middle-aged woman named Claire with a crisp blazer and a fake smile, approached. "I'm sorry, gentlemen, but we have a policy about test drives. We need to verify funds first." Her words were polite, but her eyes scanned them with the same doubt as Greg's. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Verify funds. We showed you the money." His voice cracked, drawing more stares. Malik pulled him back gently, whispering, "We don't need their approval. We know who we are." But the weight of the moment was crushing. They'd fought so hard to get here, to build something meaningful, only to be reduced to nothing in a room full of strangers. As they walked out, heads held high but hearts heavy, Marcus muttered, "This isn't over." Malik nodded, his jaw set. They didn't know it yet, but the next day would change everything. The twins drove back to their modest apartment in West Hollywood, the city's palm trees blurring past their rented Toyota. Inside, the air was thick with frustration. "I can't believe we let them walk over us," Marcus said, pacing the living room. His lock swung with each step, his energy restless. Malik, sitting cross-legged on the couch, scrolled through his phone, his calm exterior masking the storm inside. "We didn't let them do anything," he said. "They showed who they are. We'll show who we are tomorrow." Marcus stopped pacing, his eyes narrowing. "You're calling him, aren't you?" Malik didn't look up, but his fingers hesitated over the screen. "Dad needs to know. He'll want to help." Marcus scoffed, his pride warring with his pain. "We don't need his money to fix this." But Malik's gaze softened. "It's not about money, Marcus. It's about power. And he's got that." William Jackson wasn't just their father. He was a legend in Silicon Valley, a self-made billionaire who'd built a tech empire from nothing. After years of absence, he'd reached out 6 months ago, wanting to make amends. The twins had been skeptical, but his genuine remorse and quiet support had started to bridge the gap. Now, as Malik dialed his number, Marcus felt a flicker of hope beneath his anger. "Dad," Malik said when William answered, his voice steady but urgent. "We need you in L. tomorrow." He recounted the incident, his words measured but laced with hurt. William's response was immediate, his deep voice calm but resolute. "I'll be there by morning. Nobody disrespects my boys." The next morning, the twins stood outside Elite Motors, their nerves electric. The dealership's glass facade reflected the dawn light, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside them. They hadn't slept much, their minds replaying the humiliation, but now they felt a new energy. William had texted them an hour ago, "I'm landing. Meet me there." As they waited, Marcus adjusted his tailored jacket, his confidence returning. Malik, in a matching outfit, gave him a reassuring nod. "We've got this," he said. A black Rolls-Royce pulled up, its engine purring like a predator. William Jackson stepped out, a towering man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and a presence that commanded attention. His suit was impeccable, his eyes sharp with purpose. The twins felt a surge of pride as he approached, his gaze softening as it landed on them. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low but warm. Marcus nodded, though his throat was tight. "We will be." William's expression hardened as he turned toward the dealership. "Let's go," he said, leading the way. The twins followed, their steps synchronized, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Inside, Greg was at the counter, his smirk returning as he spotted them. "Back again," he said, oblivious to the man behind them. William stepped forward, his presence filling the room. "I'm William Jackson," he said, his voice like steel. "And these are my sons. I believe we have some business to discuss." The showroom fell silent, the air thick with tension. Greg's smirk vanished as he registered William's name, his eyes darting nervously to the twins. Marcus felt a thrill of satisfaction watching the salesman's confidence crumble. Malik stood tall beside him, his calm exterior now laced with a quiet triumph. William's presence was a force, his deep voice cutting through the sterile hum of the dealership. "I want to speak to the owner," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Now." Claire, the manager from yesterday, hurried over, her professional smile faltering. "Mr. Jackson, what an honor," she stammered, clearly aware of his reputation. "How can we assist you?" William's eyes narrowed, his gaze pinning her in place. "You can start by explaining why my sons were treated like they didn't belong here." His words were calm but carried the weight of a storm about to break. Marcus and Malik exchanged a glance, their bond unspoken but unbreakable. They'd always been each other's strength, from the playground taunts in Atlanta to the quiet nights after their mother's death, when they'd held each other through grief. Now, standing beside their father, they felt a new kind of power, not just his, but theirs, rooted in their shared resilience. Marcus's anger from yesterday was transforming into something sharper, more focused. Malik's steady gaze held a promise. They would not leave this place diminished again. Claire fumbled for words. "I assure you, there was no intent to offend." "We have protocols," William cut her off, his voice rising just enough to command the room. "Protocols? You humiliated my sons because of how they look, who they are, and who they love. That's not a protocol. That's prejudice." The customers nearby shifted uncomfortably, some whispering, others staring. Greg, now pale, tried to interject. "Sir, I was just following." William silenced him with a look. "You don't speak until I ask you to." The owner, a silver-haired man named Richard Voss, emerged from a back office, his face a mask of calculated calm. "Mr. Jackson, I'm terribly sorry for any misunderstanding. Let's resolve this privately." William didn't move. "No. This happens here, in front of everyone, just like you shamed my boys in front of everyone." Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. Their father wasn't just defending them. He was demanding the world see them. Richard hesitated, then gestured toward a glass-walled office. "Please, let's talk." William nodded, but as he turned to the twins, his expression softened. "You lead the way," he said. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. Marcus and Malik walked ahead, their steps deliberate, their heads high. Inside the office, Richard sat behind a sleek desk, Claire and Greg standing awkwardly to the side. William remained standing, his presence dominating the space. "Tell me what happened," William said to his sons, ignoring the others. Malik spoke first, his voice steady but raw. "We came to buy 2 cars. We had the money, the proof, everything. But Greg assumed we couldn't afford it, told us to go to a used lot. Claire backed him up, said we needed to verify funds like we were criminals." Marcus added, his voice sharper, "They didn't just question our money. They looked at us 2 black, gay guys holding hands and decided we didn't belong." William's jaw tightened, but he let them finish. When they were done, he turned to Richard. "Your staff judged my sons before they even spoke. You think that's acceptable?" Richard leaned back, choosing his words carefully. "I apologize for any discomfort." We'll ensure it doesn't happen again. William shook his head. That's not enough. My sons deserve more than your apologies. They deserve respect, and so does anyone who walks through those doors. Marcus felt a surge of emotion. Their father's words weren't just about them. They were about every person who'd ever been made to feel small. Malik reached for his hand, and Marcus squeezed it, their connection a quiet anchor. Richard shifted uncomfortably. What can we do to make this right? He asked. William's eyes gleamed with purpose. You're going to sell them those cars. Cost. And you're going to make a public commitment to diversity training for every employee here. Richard's face tightened, but he nodded. We can arrange that. Greg, still hovering, muttered something under his breath, and Marcus caught the word entitled. Before he could react, William turned, his voice low and dangerous. Say that again. Greg froze, his bravado gone. Nothing, sir. William stepped closer. If you ever disrespect my sons again, you won't have a job to come back to. Understood. Greg nodded, his face ashen. As they left the office, the twins felt the eyes of the showroom on them. But this time, the stares didn't sting. They walked with their father, a unit, unbreakable. Outside, William pulled them into a brief, fierce hug. I'm proud of you, he said. Not just for today, but for everything you've built. Marcus's throat tightened, and Malik's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. For the first time, they felt their father's love not as a promise, but as a shield. But the story wasn't over. As they drove away, Marcus noticed a text on his phone from a friend who worked at a local news outlet. Heard what happened at Elite Motors. Want to tell your story? Marcus showed it to Malik, who raised an eyebrow. This could be bigger than us, Malik said. Marcus nodded, a fire igniting in his chest. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for everyone who'd ever been made to feel less than. The twins sat in their apartment that evening, the city's lights twinkling through the window like stars they could almost touch. Marcus paced, his energy restless, while Malik typed furiously on his laptop, drafting a statement for the news outlet. We can't just let this slide, Malik said, his voice steady but fierce. What happened to us happens to too many people. We have a platform now. Let's use it. Marcus stopped, his eyes meeting his brother's. You're right. Let's make some noise. Their app, PrideLink, had already given them a voice in the queer community, connecting thousands of young people to therapists and support groups. But this was different. This was personal, a wound that cut deep into their identities as Black, gay men. They wanted their story to be a beacon, call to action. By midnight, they'd sent their statement to the news outlet, detailing the humiliation at Elite Motors and their father's intervention. They didn't name William explicitly, wanting the focus to stay on the issue, not his wealth. The next morning, their phones buzzed with notifications. The story had gone viral, shared across social media with hashtags like Justice for the Twins and No More Hate. Local news channels picked it up, and by noon, reporters were outside Elite Motors, interviewing customers and employees. Marcus and Malik watched the coverage from their apartment, their hearts racing. This is bigger than I expected, Marcus admitted, a mix of pride and nerves in his voice. Malik smiled faintly. Good. It should be. William called them that afternoon, his voice warm but cautious. You two stirred up a storm, he said. I'm proud, but be careful. Not everyone's going to like this. Marcus felt a flicker of unease. Their father was right, change came with pushback. But they were ready. They'd been fighting their whole lives. By evening, Elite Motors issued a public apology on their website, promising diversity training and a review of their policies. Richard Voss appeared in a stiff video, his words carefully scripted. We regret any distress caused and are committed to inclusivity. Marcus snorted. Too little. Too late. Malik nodded but added, it's a start. But we're not done. The twins decided to visit the dealership again, this time with a purpose beyond cars. They wanted to see if the apology meant anything. When they arrived, the showroom was quieter than before, the staff visibly tense. Greg was nowhere to be seen, but Claire greeted them with a nervous smile. Mr. Jacksonu, Marcus, Malik, I am sorry about before. Your cars are ready. Cost. As agreed. She gestured to two fire-red Porsche 911s parked prominently in the showroom. Marcus felt a surge of triumph, but it was tempered by the bigger picture. This isn't just about us, he said, his voice firm. What are you doing to make sure no one else feels like we did? Claire hesitated, then handed them a folder. We've partnered with a local LGBTQ+ organization for training. It starts next week. Malik skimmed the documents, his expression unreadable. We'll hold you to that, he said. As they left, a small crowd gathered outside supporters who'd seen the news. A young woman with a rainbow pin approached, her eyes bright with admiration. Thank you for speaking out, she said. I'm trans, and I've been scared to go into places like this. You're making it easier. Marcus's throat tightened, and Malik squeezed his hand. This was why they told their story. That night, they met William for dinner at a quiet restaurant in Santa Monica. The ocean breeze carried a sense of calm, but the twins were still buzzing with energy. William listened as they recounted the day, his pride evident. You're changing things, he said. But it's not going to be easy. People don't like being called out. Marcus nodded, his jaw set. Let them come. We're ready. But the pushback William warned about was already brewing. By morning, the twins woke to a flood of hateful comments online, targeting their race, their sexuality, and their app. A conservative blog had twisted their story, painting them as entitled brats using their father's wealth to bully a business. Marcus's hands shook as he read the lies, but Malik's voice cut through his anger. This is what happens when you challenge the system. We keep going. The backlash hit like a tidal wave. By midday, the twins' social media was a battleground, with supporters and trolls clashing in the comments. Marcus scrolled through the vitriol, his heart pounding. They're calling us woke thugs who played the victim card, he said, his voice tight with frustration. Malik, calmer but no less affected, shut his laptop. They're scared because we're loud. Let's be louder. They decided to respond with action, not words. PrideLink's user base had surged since the story broke, and the twins saw an opportunity. They organized a virtual town hall, inviting their community to share their own stories of discrimination. The event, streamed live, drew thousands. A Latinx non-binary teen spoke of being turned away from a job interview. An older black lesbian recounted being ignored at a bank. Each story was a thread in a tapestry of resilience, and Marcus and Malik felt their purpose sharpen. William joined the call, his face appearing on the screen from his office in San Francisco. "I've watched my sons turn pain into power," he said, his voice steady. "I'm here to support demand all of you." The chat exploded with gratitude, but Marcus noticed something else, a flicker of guilt in their father's eyes. Later, over a private call, William confessed, "I wasn't there for you growing up. I can't change that, but I'm here now. Whatever you need." Marcus's chest tightened. He'd spent years resenting their father's absence, but this moment felt like a bridge. "We need you to keep showing up," he said. William nodded, his eyes glistening. "I will." The town hall sparked a movement. Local businesses, pressured by the public, began pledging inclusivity reforms. Elite Motors doubled down, announcing a scholarship fund for queer youth in tech, with the twins as advisors. But not everyone was on board. A rival dealership posted a snide tweet, implying the twins had exaggerated their story for clout. The comment went viral, fueling more hate. Marcus wanted to fire back, but Malik stopped him. "We don't argue with trolls. We build." They threw themselves into PrideLink, adding features to connect users with legal aid for discrimination cases. The app's growth caught the eye of investors, and soon, offers were pouring in. But the twins were cautious. "We're not selling out," Malik said. "This is ours." Marcus agreed, but the pressure was mounting. The hate online was relentless, and one night, a brick was thrown through their apartment window, wrapped in a note with a slur. Marcus's hands shook as he called the police, but Malik's resolve didn't waver. "They're trying to scare us. It won't work." William flew back to L, his face etched with worry. "You're not safe here," he said, offering to move them to a gated community. Marcus bristled. "We're not running." Malik nodded. "This is our home. We fight here." William sighed, but his pride was evident. "Then we fight together." The police investigation yielded little, but the incident only fueled the twins' determination. They partnered with a local activist group, organizing a rally outside Elite Motors, not against the dealership, but for equality. Hundreds showed up, holding signs with messages like, "Love wins," and "No hate in our city." Marcus spoke first, his voice carrying over the crowd. "We're not here to tear anyone down. We're here to lift each other up." Malik followed, his words softer but no less powerful. "Every time they try to silence us, we get louder. This is for all of us." The rally made national news, and the twins became symbols of resistance. But with visibility came vulnerability. Late one night, Marcus got a call from an unknown number. A voice hissed, "You're not untouchable." The line went dead. Marcus's heart raced, but he didn't tell Malik. He didn't want to worry him. Instead, he texted William, "We need security." Their father replied instantly, "Done." As the twins prepared for bed, Marcus looked at Malik, asleep on the couch, his face peaceful despite the chaos. He felt a surge of love for his brother, his constant, his mirror. They'd been through so much, and now they were carrying the weight of a movement. But Marcus knew they were strong enough. They had each other and now, their father, too. The threat lingered like a shadow, but Marcus and Malik refused to let it dim their light. Security guards now patrolled their building, a quiet reminder of the stakes. Yet the twins were undeterred, their resolve forged in the fire of their shared history. They'd survived worse than threats losing their mother, navigating a world that often rejected them, building something meaningful from nothing. This fight was bigger than them, and they were all in. The rally had changed the conversation. Elite Motor Scholarship Fund launched with a ceremony, the twins front and center. They met the first recipients, a group of queer teens with dreams as big as their own. One, a shy coder named Jada, hugged them tightly. "You made me believe I could do this," she whispered. Marcus's eyes stung, and Malik's hand found his, their bond a silent vow to keep going. But the hate hadn't stopped. Online, the trolls grew bolder, and a right-wing pundit called the twins opportunists on a cable show, twisting their story into a narrative of greed. Marcus wanted to scream, but Malik's calm grounded him. "They're loud because they're losing," Malik said. "Look at what we've done." And he was right. PrideLink's downloads had doubled, and their inbox was flooded with messages of support, parents thanking them for helping their queer kids, allies pledging to fight discrimination. William became their rock, flying to L. Weekly to strategize. Over dinner one night, he shared his own story, how he'd hidden his bisexuality for years to climb the corporate ladder. "I wasn't brave like you," he admitted, his voice raw. "I'm learning from you now." Marcus felt the last of his resentment melt away. Their father wasn't perfect, but he was trying. And that was enough. The twins decided to take their movement national, planning a tour to speak at colleges and community centers. Their first stop was Atlanta, their hometown, where they visited their mother's grave before the event. Standing side by side, they whispered promises to her to keep fighting, to make her proud. The event drew hundreds, their story resonating across generations. A retired teacher approached afterward, tears in her eyes. "I hid who I was for decades," she said. "You're giving people like me hope." As they returned to L, a surprise awaited. Elite Motors, under pressure, had fired Greg and promoted Claire to oversee a new inclusivity board, with input from the twins. Richard Voss personally delivered the news, his tone humbled. "We're learning," he said. "Thank you for pushing us." Marcus and Malik accepted the gesture, but their focus was elsewhere. They were planning a PrideLink expansion, adding mentorship programs for queer youth in tech. One evening, as they drove their new Porsches through the city, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Marcus turned to Malik. "We did this." Malik smiled, his eyes bright. "And we're just getting started." They parked by the beach, the ocean stretching endless before them. For the first time in weeks, they felt peace, not the absence of struggle, but the certainty that they could face it together. The story didn't end with a perfect world. Hate still lurked, and the fight was far from over. But Marcus and Malik had built something unbreakable, a legacy of love, resilience, and change. Their father's support, their community's strength, and their own unyielding spirit had turned a moment of humiliation into a movement. As they stood by the water, hand in hand, They knew they'd already won not just the cars, but the right to be seen, to be heard, to be themselves.